Hey, what's up guys, it's Dom from Hole Printing Inc. In today's video, I'm sharing with you guys the 5 biggest mistakes most people make when starting their own t-shirt business. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dom. I own Hole Printing Inc. I've been in the printing industry for years now. My goal in today's video is to make you save so many countless headaches and trials and tribulations. I really hope you will find this video valuable and be able to avoid all of the mistakes, hard mistakes that I've made in the past years. Now before this video starts, I do apologize for my voice. I am coming down with some sort of cold. However, this video cannot wait. So let's get right into the video. If I'm looking down, I'm looking at some notes. I took some key points so we don't get too off track. Mistake number 1, guys, underestimating costs. And there's a reason this is number 1. My biggest advice to anybody wanting to grow a printing business, whether it be DTG, DTF, screen printing, vinyl, whatever the case may be, make sure you do not ever underestimate the costs. When starting out, as I made in my previous video, go take a look if you haven't already. However, when starting out, you can start with little to no money. However, as you keep growing, the cost of goods sold will increase. Let me give you an example. When you're starting out, you're starting off with, let's say, custom transfers online. You buy it for your clients, you're printing the transfers and so on, right? You buy a hoodie here and there, you buy a few t-shirts, and let's say your biggest order was 25 t-shirts. All right, so you're used to this type of workflow, and you're used to being in a position where money goes out, money comes in, right? As you start growing and hitting more and more corporate entities, let me give you an example. Let's say you have your first ever big contract with Purelator, and let's say that they have a net 90, meaning that after the submission has been sent, you can expect a minimum of 90 days until the income hits your account. That means you're gonna have to withdraw around 60 to 80% of the cash flow for this order. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say the order is $10,000. You're gonna have to withdraw anywhere between $5,000 to $8,000 to make this order a reality. And the hard part is you're not gonna get paid for another minimum of 90 days. And sometimes, most of the times, it's even longer than 90 days. It could be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. My point being is that even if it says 30 days, you can expect 40 to 45 days, just because if it's a check, there's a lot of processes. It needs to be approved. It needs to be sent out via the post office. There's a lot of steps. So the 90-day period is just for you guys to have an estimate. It could be longer or shorter than that. The main point still applies, however. If you're waiting for a substantial amount of money, especially in the early days, you're gonna have to shell out a lot of money in the upfront. So this would be my biggest example of underestimating the cost. It's all good and dandy when you're doing a few hoodies for your family, friends, and local businesses. As you keep growing and hitting those commercial contracts, you'll soon realize that you need a lot of cash flow, because let's say, for example, you have that Purelator contract. You're waiting 90 days until the funds hit your account. And let's say during that period, you get another contract with, let's say, Mollison. They want 1,000 hoodies. Now, a hoodie is way more expensive than a t-shirt. So now you're in a position where you have so many big orders that you really don't have any more cash. You're waiting on payments left and right. So you basically have to be in a position where you can afford to be able to have cash flow to source these big orders and not be stressed about when the payment is gonna hit your bank account. Now for me, this took me years and years to get up to that point, and I had to take out loans, I had to put a lot of money on my credit card, and it still happens to this day. Let's say I have, just give you guys an example. Let's say you have $10,000 in your bank account. It only takes one big order for you to have zero. And if something bad happens with a smaller client or that bigger client, you really don't have any cash flow to lay back on. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Never underestimate how much money you need in the bank account as you're growing your printing business. We can talk about hitting costs and unexpected costs for hours. You have equipment, supplies, inks, transfers, heat presses, screen printing presses. The list goes on and on and on. Utilities, internet provider, software. You have endless ways that the money can go out of the bank account. So you need to make sure that any single penny you have, you put to the side for those rainy days. And a rainy day doesn't have to be a bad day. A rainy day, for example, is what just happened to me. I have a client that ordered for over $10,000 of materials. And now we're in a position where for some reason the purchase order is being put on hold. However, the money has left my bank account. So I am in a position where I'm waiting for a confirmation, but the money has already left my bank account. We're also bidding on a job that's worth $40,000 and the materials are over $30,000. That's money that is gonna leave my bank account if I get the order. Imagine, guys, not even being able to bid on those contracts. And these examples that I'm living right now might seem extreme, but there's even bigger examples, and the smaller examples still apply. Whether the amount be $50,000, $100,000, $1 million, $10,000, $1,000, you need to make sure that you're always keeping money aside for when stuff gets put on hold, when payment delays, when stuff like that happens. And that's without accounting for all of the smaller local contracts that you might be, experiencing. Some people might not be paying you on time. For us, we implemented a policy where every single entity that is not a corporate contract, let me give you an example, FedEx and stuff like that, they are exempt from this rule that I'm about to share, but any local business or individual is paid on receipt. Once we sent over the estimate and they confirm the order is correct, they need to pay right away. Not 25%, not 50%. We demand 100% of the payment up front. If they don't want to do business this way, they can go search elsewhere. This comes from being in the industry for many years and dealing with late payments month after month after month. We got to a position where we do not tolerate a late payment ever again. Obviously, there's exceptions. If the client talks to us beforehand and we trust the client, we can make certain exceptions. And also for corporate contracts like FedEx or schools, they have a net payment system. So we know for sure we're gonna get paid. However, some local businesses have a harder time getting the funds. So that's something to take into consideration. Make sure you have as much money in the bank as humanly possible for equipment breakdown, supplies, materials to do a big job, and the cash flow to be able to sit on that money while you wait for the big money to come in once you completed a big contract. And having money in the bank while you're bidding on those bigger contracts is going to afford you the ability to be able to source the material for your smaller jobs to keep the cash flow going. That's where I would also suggest you guys ask for 100% of the payment up front. Especially if you've been doing this for a few years now, your name is popular and people do not have to hesitate doing business with you because you stand behind your product and your services. Make sure you never underestimate the cost and the amount of capital needed to start and especially elevate your printing business. Said mistake number 2, ignoring quality control. Like I was saying, you can see that in many ways, but let me give you an example. Let's say you order 1,000 t-shirts. Same colorway, same everything. Quality control starts before you even purchase. You need to make sure you purchase from a trusted supplier, and you want to make sure that you purchase the same colorway. So let me give you an example. If you get shirts that are coming in and one shirt looks pretty significantly darker than the other one, you need to make sure you catch that right away and you send that over to the rep or the company you're dealing with to source your blanks, and they need to address it. Another example is loose threads. If the garment has loose threads and has stains, has holes, I'm not saying if it has a little loose thread to, contact the company, you can simply cut it off. But if you see that it's affecting the durability of the garment, whether it be a t-shirt or a hoodie, whether it be a $2 t-shirt or a $50 hoodie, you need to make sure that you never underestimate the quality control. You've paid money for that supply. Make sure it's the best standard possible. If you start letting these things go through, you're going to start to let other things go through that are more serious. Color accuracy needs to be perfect or as close as perfect as humanly possible, especially for those bigger orders. Make sure everything is consistent. Make sure there's not too much loose thread, and if it is, it doesn't affect the structure of the garment. Make sure that there's no stains or hole. You need to literally take the time or pay somebody to literally inspect every single garment. Take it like this, take a look everywhere, flip it around, flip it inside out, make sure it looks perfect, put it back on the table, and do that 999 other times for this example of 1,000 pieces. So that's quality control step number 1. Number 2 is when the garment is printed or being printed. you're printing your DTF transfers or you're applying ink on the screen, whatever the method of printing is, and you start pumping out these shirts. Before you go too far, make sure you send a proof, especially if it's a bigger client and it's the first time working with them. Make sure they feel comfortable. Offer samples, offer delivery on those samples. Say, hey, you go to that location, you take the time to build some rapport. Also, relationships are everything in business, so it's always a win-win if you can physically be there for the sample delivery. Ask them how they feel about the sample, the quality. Once you have every single metric to a T, you can return to production and fulfill the shirts or the hoodies, right? So make sure the client knows what they're buying. Once everything has been printed, before you put them in the box, you need to inspect every single piece of clothing, making sure the quality is accurate and on point. If you see some flaws here and there, make sure you address them quickly, whether that be VLRing the actual print and putting a new one over it, or in this example for screen printing, tossing away the shirt and printing a new one. The cost on the short term is unpleasant. However, the long-term results of being picky and having quality control, no pun intended, is going to drive your business ahead of your competitors in no time. Mistake number 3. Not focusing on a niche. I'm not going to tell you guys how to start or how to grow your business, because that's really to your own personal preference and lifestyle. However, most of you guys watching this are doing t-shirts for family and friends, local sporting events, and maybe your odd local client here and there. Some of you might have some bigger corporations, and congratulations. However, you need to understand, as you keep growing in your business, and days and weeks start turning into months, and months are starting to turn into years, you'll soon realize that if you don't pivot and decide who you would prefer and want to work with, you will start working with anybody and everybody, and that can be okay if that's the business model that you guys want. However, for us here at Whole Printing, we've made a conscious decision to start working with schools, corporations, big local clients, and we want to avoid any individuals as much as humanly possible. We'll still offer the service in some cases to provide quality customer service. However, we are realizing that the more we focus on the individual, the less we have time to make these YouTube videos, the less we have time to help you diagnose your printer issues. There's so many other things that we don't have time to do when we focus on the individuals. And for us, it just makes sense to focus more on corporate and school contracts that are going to provide less back and forth, a higher return on investment, and more time to do what really matters for us in the business. So make sure you guys pick a niche. If, for example, you guys don't want to hit corporate contracts, you want to target the individual, make sure it's clear in your business plan and you're saying no to everything else and you're only saying yes to what really matters. It's easier said than done, especially for us. We've started with helping pretty much anybody and everybody from corporate to individual. However, we're now realizing that we're slowly pulling back, and it's not something, in my opinion, that can happen overnight. You can't simply click your fingers and have no more individuals or have no more corporate and only deal with the client that you want to deal with. In my opinion and in my experience, it's a gradual transition, but you need to understand what your goals are. What's your lifestyle? How big you want the printing company to be? Do you want to have 10 employees, 0 employees, 100, 1,000 employees? Realize what you guys want from the early beginning, and as you keep scaling, it's going to be easy to eliminate anything that's not appropriate to your path. Mistake number 4, guys, forgetting about marketing. Marketing and printing goes hand in hand. You guys already know about the behemoths, Printful, Vistaprint. The list goes on and on and on. You need to make sure you're separating yourself from the competitors. It doesn't have to be pricing. I see another big thing in the printing industry which makes me sick to my stomach. Everybody is trying to undercut everything. Some people are going to bid on a contract and literally they make 0 profit just for simply saying that they got the contract. If everybody in the printing industry stopped doing this and valued their time properly, we wouldn't be in this big bidding war to the bottom. You need to make sure your pricing is accurate and you make enough money to sustain your lifestyle and the vision of the company that you want. Stop racing down to the bottom. If you don't get the contract, bid again, and not all contracts are meant for you. Some contracts you've bidded the best that you could and you don't get it, and that's perfect. Don't lower your price because a competitor has started to lower their price. Focus on what matters: quality customer service, quality production, and quality garments. Focus on what you can control and put your pricing according to the value you provide. This can be reflected in your marketing. Stop using marketing to drive down your costs. Stop using marketing to advertise a big sale you're having. Start using marketing to provide insights on what your company stands for and how your company is different. If you have an amazing after sales team, make sure to market that. If you have amazing quality products, make sure to market that. Make sure you make people feel like they need to work with you. Anybody can go on Vistaprint and order custom stickers, t-shirts, the list goes on. But there's a reason why they want to work with you. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the price. Market everywhere: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, word of mouth, expositions. Go everywhere and anywhere and talk about your brand. Mistake number 5, and I know this is gonna hit a lot of you in the soul. You need to start setting realistic deadlines. It's always fun, guys, to promise the world. You need to deliver the world if you promise it. For us, we can't even count how many times that we did not respect a deadline. For the corporate contracts, knock on wood, we've been lucky. We've set unrealistic deadlines and we've managed to hit them, but I can not even count how many times for local clients that we were not able to respect the deadline, and that really comes down to setting the expectation. You need to set the expectations with your clients. Understand that anything and everything will go wrong. If you don't put time into account for anything that can go wrong, how are you going to be able to leverage yourself to be in a position where you can manage your orders successfully? If you don't give yourself some space for wiggle room and unexpected errors, you're going to be setting yourself up for failure. You're going to be missing deadlines left and right. So setting realistic deadlines is one of the most important advice I can give you guys. Make sure you understand the significance of your word. If you tell a client on Monday, make sure you can realistically do it on Monday and account for yourself getting sick, account for yourself not getting the material in time. Give yourself some space to breathe and give yourself more than enough space. A client would way rather have the news of, hey, your order is done in advance, than, hey, I messed up. I did not take my time and effort into consideration for this order, the material, the excuses. I won't be able to fulfill your order for the previously discussed date. Put yourself in the client's shoes. Would you rather have the news that your order is done in advance, or would you rather have the news that they won't be able to meet your deadline? Make sure you negotiate and put realistic deadlines and put yourself more time than less. So to wrap up, guys, biggest thing, money in the bank. Make sure you have more than enough money for those rainy days. And like I said, rainy days don't mean bad days. It just simply means you might have 5 big contracts and you might have a lot of outstanding invoices that are waiting to be paid. Make sure you have as much money in the bank as humanly possible. Make sure you focus on quality. Your competitors are gonna hate you and your clients are gonna adore you. Make sure you focus on a niche. No niche is like having no structure. Make sure you know exactly what you're targeting. Never forget about marketing. Put yourself everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, word of mouth, everywhere. You need to be in every single platform multiple times a day if you want to have a chance against the big behemoths. Make sure you never forget about marketing. Too little marketing exists. Too much marketing doesn't exist. Make sure you set realistic deadlines. You're gonna sleep better at night and your clients are gonna adore you for it. So guys, if you found this video somewhat helpful, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe if you're new. This was Dom from Whole Printing Inc. Make a print you'll never forget.